Welcome to the channel, Tribe. This episode is a part of our webinar series Tribecast. In this episode, we are having Shruthi L.S. talking on the topic, Best Practices for Mobile Testing.
Welcome, Shruthi. Thanks for being with us. Shruthi is a senior test engineer at Trigent. She has a deep experience in web, mobile, and testing in the telecom, banking, and healthcare domains. She is also leading the Bangalore chapter for Women Who Test, which is seeking to build diversity and inclusion and motivating women testers. So, women testers out here, yes, get in touch with Shruthi and be a part of Women Who Test as well. So, welcome, Shruthi. It's all over to you. Let's get started.
Thank you, Jayasli, and once again, thank you, audience, for your patience. So, without any delay, let's get started with the topic for the day, which is best practices for mobile application testing. So when we talk about mobile application, so first thing is what difference do we have when we specifically mention mobile application? How or what various components or how the user scenarios differs with respect to your web and mobile. So in our webinar for the day, we'll be discussing more about the challenges, the best practices which can be used for testing the mobile applications, and in specific, we'll be talking about how are we testing the APIs, altering the APIs with respect to mobile application testing, and we'll be looking into this with respect to Charles Proxy tool, which is one of the very user-friendly and efficient tool for your API testing, and what are the pros and cons of this Charles Proxy. And the next component would be about talking about the performance testing. When I tell about performance testing, it's not about the response from the server or how it has been handled. No, we are talking about the UI components. How does the UI components in your mobile add on to your performance testing? So that we'll be discussing with respect to the graphical processor unit, which is a smart electronic chip present in your mobiles. So we'll be looking into that in deeper with respect to the performance concept. So as I said, how does our mobile application testing differ from our web application testing, or what are the specific challenges we have when we talk about mobile application testing? In current days, we say that many applications are available for us. It might be any of the tasks the user wants to perform. It might be with respect to your educational purpose or entertainment purpose, or anything as such. You have the applications available for all those things. So it's very necessary for us to test those applications before we release for productions. So testing, when we talk about testing, it's like selecting the wide. We have many manufacturers available now. So what kind of device you will have to use? What is the OS version which you will have to select when you are thinking of testing any of the mobile application? So this is a important factor when you are testing any of the applications. As I said, different manufacturers, it has different OS, different device sizes. So this mobile application testing has different user scenarios. Usability testing has, and usability and UI testing plays a very important role in mobile application testing. So which is little troublesome or roadblockers for mobile applications. In addition to this, the major component is the networks. We know that whenever around the world we have network connectivity available these days, but all the network connectivities are not born alike. So it's very much important to verify your applications in different network conditions. And one more important concept is the interruptions. Like whenever you have any call or messaging which interrupts your application usage, so how does your API behaves at that point? So this is one other major aspect which add-ons to challenges. So when we spoke about challenges, it is very important for us to look in for the practices to overcome these challenges. As I said, choosing the proper device is one of the major component, and usability and UI, that's again one more important aspect. Then if we know that the applications or the mobile devices whichever we get with the default OS version or the update, it would not be the same after few months. Again, you'll be getting the patches. So once you install these updates, how does your mobile behave, or How does your application respond to these patches? That's again one more important factor which we'll have to consider when we are testing any applications. And one more is restrictions. Whenever you have any interruptions happening in your application, that's again depends on the settings whatever you do. So the permissions whatever you set for your mobile application. So this is one more important aspect. And as I said, testing and debugging of the API calls, especially when you have any of the interruptions and usage. So this will be dealing in detail today with respect to Charles Proxy tool. And one more thing is about the stability and responsiveness whenever you are using the mobile application. So yeah, Charles Proxy. As I said, it's a HTTP or HTTPS protocol based device which acts as a barrier or the traffic between your program and the web server. So whatever the API calls, which whatever the application makes the API calls, it might be the request which will be reaching your server or the response which we will be getting back from your server. So handling all these things will be done via Charles Proxy. So you can monitor or alter your responses, and the change in your response you will be able to look in on your UI. So this is where it's very important and necessary, and also this is very much or useful when you have any of the applications where you don't have all the data available. For example, if you have any one user who will be using one kind of plan, and there are multiple plans available. If you, in case you don't have the other plan details available for that user, what you could do is, if you have the API details available, you can trigger it from your end, apply the breakpoints, and you can alter your API and looking for how does the response happen with respect to API and with respect to your UI as well. So this would be very important or very useful in that concepts as well. And in Charles Proxy, there are some of the options which are very frequently used. That is like bandwidth and the bandwidth throttling, breakpoint, repeat, advanced, rewrite. So we'll be dealing with all these things in detail. And this Charles Proxy tool is easily available through their website. You have two versions. One is a trial version and the premium version. Today I'll be showing a demo with respect to the trial version. So I'll open the Charles Proxy tool, I'll show how it looks like. So this is the Charles Proxy tool, how it looks like. So I will show you first thing is how do you connect your mobile with respect to your Charles Proxy. I'm using my personal device, so maybe you might face you might see few other things. So yeah, this is how. Let me show you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is how your Charles Proxy window looks like. So for connecting your mobile to your Charles Proxy, you will have to enter or proxy your device with respect to the IP address. So what you will have to do is you will have to go to help option, then SSL proxy. Here you can see the certificate. You will have to install the certificate, and first thing is proxying. So when you go here, what happens is you will be prompted with the IP address of your Charles and the port. So you will have to first thing is enable that in your mobile. So go to settings and connect to the network to which you are using. So here, when you go here to the network, you'll be having something called as proxy options here. So currently I'm already connected. If not, it will be in none by default. So if you'll have to change it to manual, what you'll have to do is you'll have to select the manual and the IP address and the port number, whatever you have it here, you will have to just enter those details to your mobile. So once this is done, we are not done. We'll have to install the certificate. So since I am using it frequently, it's already installed. So the procedure for installing is you'll have to go for this chls.pro/ssl. So once you hit this, you will be getting a downloadable certificate. So once you download it and install it, you're good to go. So this is only one time installable. There is no need to install it again and again, like whenever you will have to connect it. Okay. So once we are done with connecting, next is I'll give you a overview of this application. The tool. Here you have two ways in which you can look into your tool. One is the structured way, and the other one is the sequence way. This structured way is nothing but a tree format, like whatever the transactions you make, it will be one after the other based on the APIs. You'll be able to see this. One more is sequence way. This is the last showing whatever the recent activity you have done, that you will be able to see that gets appended here. So this is how your tool looks like. And next one is the details or the components, whatever you have in your proxy. So I will just show with respect to one of the application today. I am using one application which generally I got it, and that is built upon HTTP protocol, which is like not a secure one. So that's the reason I was able to collect all the data. So if you see here, as soon as I launch my application, this is the URL what I am capturing. Like this is the API of that application. Let me show the application as well. So if I hit any of the categories under here, you can see the details are getting triggered. Okay, so the upper part, whatever you see here, is nothing but the request, and the lower part, whatever the details you are seeing here, is nothing but the response. And you have the header components as well here. And this application, whatever I am using, has a restriction for modifying your request API. So you will not be able to see any of your request details, but instead, whatever the response details you have, so everything you will be able to see here. Again, you have a response header, which is where you will be able to get to know whether it's a 200 or whether it's 404 or 500, whatever the error code you have it, everything you will be able to see under the response section. Okay, so this is the overview of our Charles Proxy tool. This application is built upon the JSON, and the Charles Proxy supports either whether if the application is in XML format or Java format or HTML format, whatever it is, application will still be supporting. So yeah, as I said, there are a couple of frequently used options in Charles, which will be going through under what options are there, how do we use the Charles and all. So I'll be showing the demo of all those things now. Okay, yeah, I have opened the application, and this is how I'll just take one option category as an example now, and I'll just show the demo. So this is one of the category which I'll be selecting. Once I select that, these are the options where I'll be able to see. So this is one of our product. So that I am seeing that in my response. So this is the name, and I see the same in the UI. So consider where you have a scenario that you will have to alter your API and verify that against your UI. So that's where you have the option called as breakpoints. So what I do is uh, uh, highlight the node to which you will have to apply the breakpoint. So if this is the node, select that and tap on breakpoint. So as soon as you selected your breakpoint, you can see then highlighting happening here. So this is nothing but your breakpoint is active. Okay, so we are not done with that. We'll have to still go with proxy. Under that, we have proxy settings, where initially, if you're doing it for the first time, this checkbox will be unchecked. You'll have to go ahead and check this. So this is the node where I have selected my breakpoint. Okay, as I said, since this application is we are able to edit only the request, only the response. Request is not editable. What I would do is I will uncheck this request, and I will show you how this works for response, like what are the changes I'll be able to make in the response. So I'll just go for this application. I will go back to my previous category here. So I will just tap on OK. Whenever this API is hit again, you will be able to see one more session which is opened. So I just again. So yeah, if I just tapped on it, you can see that the details are not loaded yet in my application. It is waiting for this API to complete its response. So whatever I have the JSON text here, the name, just for testing purpose, I will go ahead and change the name here. So I will make it as this has an issue. I mean, this API has an issue with respect to this. It triggers the multiple APIs. So I will just, for example's sake, instead of that name, I'll make it as AAA. So just for testing purpose. Okay. So yeah, I will just make the same changes for all the duplicate APIs which are triggered, and I'll show the UI how it behaves. Okay. So ideally, whatever the change I have made here, I should be able to see all those things in my UI. So I am done. You can see whatever the details I had given there. So all those things got changed. Let me just mirror it again. Okay, in my application, if you see, the name was something else here when we launched the application. But after my change, you can see that the name has been altered with respect to whatever the last name I had given here. So this is how you can apply your breakpoint, and this was just one of the example whatever I gave. You can instead go ahead and make the changes in your header or any of the components whatever you have it in your API, until unless that value is been accepted for that tag. You can alter all those changes and you can verify using the breakpoints. Okay, so yeah, coming to next option, which is throttle. As I said, around the world we have network connectivity available everywhere now, but it's not one unlike. So it's very much necessary for us to verify this connectivity for all the network conditions. So that can be done via Charles proxy using the option called as throttling. So here you can see a tortoise. When I enable throttling, so this is how my throttle settings window appears like. Initially it will not be enabled, like when you're doing it for the first time it will not be enabled. So go ahead and enable that. Once after you enable that, you will be able to see the options for this is the bandwidth, whether you will have to upload or download anything from your application. So you can go ahead and alter the speed here. Okay, so I will make it as well. I mean, I'm just randomly changing the values. Okay, so once I'm increasing the speed here. So if you are within that coverage, like bandwidth coverage, you can support, it will be supported. If not, whatever you have your coverage within that, you can either slow down that or you can increase the speed. So whatever can be, whatever the changes you want with respect to your bandwidth, everything can be done here. So yeah. So once that's done, you can see that the tortoise symbol, whatever was available here, it's been highlighted now. So it means that throttle is applied for whichever the node you have selected. Okay, so let me go back to that application, and when I tap on that particular category for which the node was applied, you will be able to see a delay. So based on your throttling speed, the time it takes, you can verify how your API behaves during that time, like whether you have any timeout being happened or what's the timeout that's been given with respect to your connectivity. So all these scenarios can be verified using your throttle speed. Since I have applied my breakpoint also here, it again since first thing is it will go for throttling where the connectivity will be reduced. Again, next to that, since I have applied the breakpoint, here the changes will be little delayed here. So again, as I said, it triggers slightly duplicate API, so it takes little more time for us to execute. You see, since the delay is there, you are getting the APIs one after the other with a very lesser speed. So during that time, you can see your application is idle and nothing has been happening there. So yeah, that again depends on how your developer or you have the application being configured that for. So yeah, that's how you can verify your network conditions using the throttle. I will remove the throttle now because we have a couple of other things to be verified. Okay. Okay, coming to the next point, which is repeat. So what does that repeat mean by? Consider a scenario where you will have to or you have performed your action to some extent. For example, I'll take any of the gaming application where you're testing your application and you have reached some level of score and some backend changes are being done now. So you will have to re-verify your application. So instead of triggering your request from the application, like whether it might be via UI or if you are using a browser window from your Windows, instead of triggering the request, what you can do is within Charles, you can repeat your request and you can see the response. But again, since the request is being repeated with respect to your application, I mean, within the Charles proxy, the response will also be with respect to Charles proxy itself. Like you will not be able to see the changes in the UI. Okay, let me show how it works. Again, select any of the node for which you will have to perform the repeat. So go to repeat option here. Whatever the changes you want to make, if in case you have it, then you can do it. So once you execute that, you can see that it's been executed and you will not see any changes in the UI because this is triggered within Charles and the output will also be within Charles. So you can monitor all your details within Charles itself here. Okay. Yeah, next is repeat advanced. This is mainly used for load testing. So what happens here is, consider a scenario where you will have to increase the number of users hitting the same API at the same time. So in that case, this repeat advanced is used, which is again a load testing. In general scenario, what you can do is you can record your APIs and next relaunch that API, whatever you have been recorded, and go for this repeat advanced option, whatever you have it. Here you have two items. One is the iterations and one is the concurrency. So concurrency is nothing but the number of users you want to give it here. In case if you want to give like 10 users at a time, and iterations is nothing but the number of time each user wants to hit that URL. So in that way, you can just give any of the options, whatever you wanted. And when you tap on OK, so those many details will be triggered for you. I will remove my breakpoint for now so that I can look and see. This is how your load testing happens. For now what I had given is, I had given concurrency as one, but the iterations has 10. So you can give huge number of iterations as well. So in that case, you can verify how many users and how many times each user is hitting your server, and how your server is responding to that. So this kind of testing can be done using Charles proxy. So we got to know about breakpoints, throttling, repeat advanced, and one more most frequently used option is rewrite. What is this rewrite? Consider a scenario where you will have to alter your API in the same way. Like for example, you have some alterations to be done as in and when you launch your application. So you have some details which are coming from API, you will have to alter it. So if in case you will have to alter it at 10 places, then you cannot, it's not easier way of testing that you apply your breakpoint at all the 10 places and then keep modifying that. Instead of that, we have one more option called as rewrite. I'll show you how it works. For the same application, what I would do is, okay, yeah. So I will go for a rewrite here. So enable rewrite will be disabled. So enable this checkbox. Once after you enable this, I have already preset this. I will just take an example of the same. So when you, I'll just show one more. When you want to add any of the new set, like, where you will have to replace it, you have two options available where you will have to enter your details. One is the location and the other one is the conditions. So when taking this, when if you will have to add this, what the details you will have to give here is identifying the location. That is nothing but the node for which you will have to apply the breakpoint. As I said, this is an HTTP protocol, so the type of protocols would be HTTP or HTTPS. So I'm selecting HTTP here. What's the host name? Host name is nothing but the application name with which it is getting triggered. So this is the host name, and the port we'll be getting it from the breakpoints. Whenever we apply the breakpoints, we'll be getting this port. So here I'm not giving any path because I want in the whole of the application, I want few of the details to be replaced. So that's the reason I'm not giving any path. In case you will have to edit the response only at one path, then you'll have to give that particular path details here. Okay, yeah. Next, coming to the rules. What are these rules? Okay, here you have a type. So what the changes you want to perform is that related to your adding a header or modifying the existing header or removing that. So this all depends on the type of change whatever you want to make. For me, I will have to change the response details. Okay, so I will do that. So in our application, you saw that at many places you were looking something called as millet available there. So now what I'm doing is I'm just changing that millet whenever the application opens. See, here you can see something called as finger millet. So I mean, many kind of millets are available here. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'll have to replace this millet by something else. So what I'm doing is wherever you have this millet, search for that and replace that value with something like a random value I've given. So do you want only the first item to be replaced or all the items to be replaced? So this depends on your selection. Tap on OK and apply this. And OK. So now what happens is whenever this URL or the node is getting triggered, so every time you see the change. I have applied the rewrite now. So once I apply it, whenever I run my the API which hits this URL, you can see everything is being changed here. Wherever it was built, everything is being changed. So this is how you can alter your API for all the specific conditions wherever you need it at a single stretch using the rewrite option. If you want to alter it at any one or two places, you can go ahead and use the breakpoint option. If it is multiple places where you want to play with your API, then you can use the rewrite option. So yeah, this is how you can use the Charles proxy for modifying your API and get the desired results based on that, which can be verified both with the point of API and the behavior of that in your UI. So yeah, this is how Charles proxy works. And as I said, this is one of the best tool for API debugging conditions. Okay. Yeah, so we looked in how our request and response looks like, and body and header parameters. So we even went through with the breakpoints, how we can apply the breakpoint and alter our APIs. Next was related to the throttling, where with respect to different conditions, we can verify how our application behaves. So repeat and repeat advanced options for performing the load testing, and rewrite in case if we want to alter the same changes at many places. So we can go ahead and use this rewrite option. So yeah, there's a couple of pros and cons related to Charles proxy. Yeah, as I said, Charles proxy is one tool that networks the traffic between your application and the server. And yeah, as I said again, since the application, whatever we saw the demo, it was with respect to the JSON. Again, it will be supporting the XML, HTML and Java formats, everything. So it can be verified for using throttling. You can verify for delayed network conditions, everything, and it supports for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and everything. Well, yeah, any applications cannot be 100%, advantages. A couple of disadvantages would also be there. Yeah, as I showed you, this was a trial version. So, and this trial version, you can see the sessions here. So, this sessions will be active only for 30 minutes. So, if in case you are capturing any of your API and you're not saving it within 30 minutes of duration, then you will be losing your API. So, if you are whatever the recording happening here, you will have to save it within 30 minutes. So then you will be able to save your session. So that's one of the drawback, and that is with respect to your trial version. But when you go for your premium version, you don't have this cons. It will be, you can still go ahead and proceed with the working. And one more major drawback is when you're connecting to VPNs. So yeah, if your VPN is local and it's not very much secure, or not instead of very much secure, but it still allows your Charles to be captured, then that's fine. But whenever you have any of the secured protocols through which you are connecting, then it Charles proxy would not be an efficient one to be using. So yeah, these are the pros and cons of Charles proxy. So yeah, we discussed about how we alter the API and how it's useful for mobile application testing. So yeah, as I said in the initial part, how the performance is being impacted. That's one more criteria which we'll be looking into. So that is via GPU. So what is GPU? GPU is nothing but an electronic circuit that it's mainly used for the creation of images in the screen. So yeah, this again, what are the uses of GPI? What it does is, whatever the load you have on CPU, it reduces that. How does it reduce? It takes all the graphical content processing load on that, and only the AI and the calculation part will be given to your CPU. So this is how the GPU reduces the load of your CPU. And when you have the better combination of CPU and GPU, your performance of your system would be price worthy, and it's very robust system is what we can tell. Okay, yeah. What is your difference between the GPU and CPU? So CPU, as we all know from childhood, we are taught that like it's a brain of the computer. But again, CPU is now it's the soul. So whatever the graphical content details you have, everything is being processed by your GPU. CPU, how does it work? It mainly works on the cache memory. So it has minimal number of UI threads for which it will have to work on. But GPU, it has the capability of working on multiple UI threads at the same time. So because of which you can see all the details on your screen. Uh, Downloading or being displayed at a similar time. So as I said, when you have a better combination of your CPU and GPU, then your system performance and power would be, a stable one. What's the use of this CPU or GPUs on your smartphones? Yeah, as I said, it's rather than your regular applications, whatever you use, when you go for your gaming applications, which needs 2D or 3D changes, as in when you have giving the input, the output, whatever you get in terms of images, GPU is very much necessary there. So what it does is, if you take an example of one of the gaming application, which is one-person shooter, so this GPU will alter your gestures there, like the colors, the animations, everything will be taken part by GPU, the processor, and CPU will take part only in the calculations. Like, it shows based on your UI input, what's the score or the levels. So everything will be calculated by CPU. How do you monitor this in our Android or iOS devices? In iOS, we specifically need the Xcode or the Mac OS tools for monitoring this GPU, but in Android, it's very much easy. We have an option called as developer tools available in Android, which makes us easier to capture this, the performance or the monitoring of GPU. So how can we perform? How can we capture this in Android? There are two specific options available, which are like GPU profiling and GPU overdraw. So let me again mirror my device and show you how this works, or where can we go ahead and find this. Okay. So next comes the profiling. How can we go ahead and look in for profiling? So in your Android settings, go and check for developer options. So in case if you have not enabled your developer options, the way to enable is you will be having a build number available under your settings. So you'll have to go tap on your build number multiple times. So once after you tap on it for multiple times, you will be able to enable this developer options. So scroll down and you have a section called as monitoring here. Okay. So here you have something called as GPU profile rendering. So you go to this. So once you go to this, you have couple other options available where it asks you on the screen, should that be displayed in the form of bars, or you need ADB shell scripting command, through which you will be able to capture the details. But for now, I'll be showing you how can we capture it on the screen as a bar. So yeah, you can see that as soon as I enabled this, you are seeing multiple lines available here. And as in when I scroll the screens, you can see that the vertical bars gets changed here. So what are these bars? Okay, yeah, this was how the procedure what I showed you was related to enabling the GPU rendering. So what is this GPU rendering? For any of the a frame which is available on your screen, it has particular time to load. That has a benchmark of 15 milliseconds per frame. Okay, so here you can see one particular green line which is available here. Okay, this is nothing but a standard 16 milliseconds line. Okay. And each of these vertical lines, whatever you see, those are nothing but your frame, the time consumed by each of your frame, talking about the time needed for each of your frameworks to get rendered. So as you can see, there are multiple vertical lines available, and this is the standard 15 millisecond time duration. So whatever the frames which are available, or the time taken for each frame which are available below this is not highlighted, and the ones which takes above, the more than 15 milliseconds of duration, everything is highlighted and it is little bold. And again, these colors, whatever you can see, it's not mandatory that for each frame we should have the same color. It depends on the next screen or the UI rendering of your screen. So we're looking for what each of these green colors indicate. The colors indicate. Okay. Yeah. So this is how your rendering profile looks like. Again, this you can just look in for where it is consuming more of time, but it's little of developers' point of view where it will have to be considered into. For example, I'll be going from the bottom to up. You can see a couple of green color indications here. So first one would be the either it can be your delay or miscellaneous time. So what is this miscellaneous time in your rendering or the vertical bar, whatever you see? Consider you have two UI threads working on your screen. So it is nothing but the delay from one UI thread to finish its work and then to forward the work to its next UI thread. That is, when you have a dependency between the UI threads for the alignment, in that case, you will be seeing this component. And during that transfer of work, if there is any delay, then you will be seeing this color of the bar being highlighted there. Next part is the input handling. Suppose for the UI to be displayed on your screen, you will have to provide any of your inputs. So in that case, the computation of your input is very much necessary for the UI to be aligned on the display of your screen. So if in case the inputs, whatever you are giving, it is taking little more time for that UI to get rendered. So in that case, you will have to look in for your inputs and you will have to give a better approach for handling that from the UI point of view. Next is animation. Consider a screen where you have more of animations to be displayed. So in that case, the animators, whatever you are using for display of that animation is very much necessary. There are a couple of inbuilt animations available, the library animations which are easily available. You can still go ahead and customize your animators. So if in case your animator is taking longer duration for your UI rendering, then that's the issue with your animator. You will have to go ahead and look in where it is taking lot of time. Next is the layout measurement. So when you are entering or when you are moving into a new screen, alignment of these layouts is very much necessary. So this happens in two different formats. One is like the layout and the view. Okay. So when you're navigating to any screen, if your layout is dependent on just it's a static one, it's not dependent on anything, so in that case it would not take much time. But in case whatever the layout you are navigating to, if that's a child layout in the sense the input for that layout calculation will be carried forward from the parent layout. So in that case, this transition from first the calculation for the payment parent layout from parent layout to child layout, so this layout measurement takes if this color is more, then it indicates that the layout measurement is taking more of time, so you will have to look into that component. Or next one is draw. The blue color lines, whatever you are seeing is nothing but the drawing component. Drawing is nothing but whatever the text you are entering or whatever the background you are entering to your screen. So this is all done via some of the drawing tools. So again, if this is taking more of time, you will have to look in for the tools whatever you are using. So you have like on-draw tools or customized drawing tools. So this depends on whatever you are using for your UI rendering again. So next is synchronous and the upload. So whatever the bitmap information that is being uploaded to GPU, that time duration will be looked in with this aqua blue color. Next is the red color time. This depends on the like the drawing, the GL or the like how much the rendering of your animations or the images with respect to 2D or 3D images. So that depends on this red color. So the final orange color line, whatever it seems, is nothing but GPU is completes its complete UI rendering. Everything is done, and the next it is the CPU to take its take its chance to next whatever the calculations you have. So once after you reach this orange color bar, it is that your screen is being loaded completely with all the details whatever is necessary. So for each screen to load, the timings should be measured against this green color line whatever we have it. So it should always be it's advisable to be below 16 milliseconds so that your performance or your screen will be at a good level of loading. And again, as I said, all this monitoring would be very much helpful for gaming applications where you have rapid changes of your images or the animations on your screen. So in case if any of these timings is more, then your image get paused at in between. So you will not maybe at that point you as a user, if you're just looking, you will not get to know because of which component your image is getting paused at that point. So because of any of one of these components only, there would be a delay in the loading of your image. So this is how we monitor our profiling. Next is the GPU overdraw. So what is this overdraw? Whenever we want to display any of the information on the screen, we'll have to retrieve the pixels. Like if you have any one of the characters, so for that characters particularly, we have the pixels being retrieved. So if you are retrieving, so just to display only one line of information, if you are retrieving the pixel 2 or 3 times, then it is called as overdraw. So let me show you a demo of how we can verify this again. Let me go to settings. Again, I'll go for developer options. I will, sorry, first I will just remove this profiling so that it will be easy for you to look in. I'll just go ahead and remove this. Now I'll show how this overdraw is. Okay, yeah. So you can look in general, when you have to look in terms of pixelate format, this is how your application would look like. You can see a couple of colors, green color, purple color, blue color, and all. So I'll show what is that, each color indicates there. Okay. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Whenever you have any of your application which in this white color or no overdraw, this is the true color of the application, which is in white. So on this, if you will have to display any of the information, there are many ways to display it. So in case if the information is on this note or no overdraw or the true color, if you are just retrieving the pixels only for that particular area where you want to display the information, then that will be blue color. In case here, see, this is one of the option where you let me try connecting to mirroring again. I just wanted to show one of the application where the overdraw was more. Yeah, meanwhile let me explain with the same screenshot whatever we have it. Yeah, so if you can look in here. See, for the same information retrieval, this is one, after we overcame this overdraw, this is how it was looking like. On the white background, we were seeing that, yes, on the white background, we are just seeing the contents in the blue color. So if you're looking for this application, which I earlier took for as an example for the Charles proxy, see the screen completely looks either in pink color or red color. So that is nothing but for display of this example. I'll take one image. So how many overdraws are been happening? So it is taking 4 times of overdraw. So that is nothing but for the same information display, it's consuming 4 times the amount of time how it can be reduced. So this is one of the example which we have it like instead of generally what happens is you have a true color. On that true color, you start reserving your spaces for your information. So here, if you're looking for the screenshot, whatever is being attached, so for that particular category, one space is reserved. So for the entire screen, first is go for blue color. So upon that, for this category, it is green. So on that green color, you are retrieving in your information for the images as well as some of the text content. That is where you can see either it is getting 3 times overdrawn or 4 times overdrawn. So that can be done in the simpler way, where instead of reserving your spaces, what you can do is on the white color or the true overdraw, whatever we have it, on that just start capturing your pixels just to show that information. Here, yeah, how does this was one of the live example from one of the project which was taken. Initially this was a dashboard screen where you had like the scrolling was up to 4 pages. So on the dashboard we have so much of information available. So once I mean, when we started looking into this overdraw, initially what happened was to for the display of this entire dashboard, the time duration taken was 30 to 40 seconds. So when we debugged why is this taking so much of time, and when we looked in, this was the places where it was taking longer time, like reserving the places and then retrieving the information. So once after we found it, we made it a little lesser time duration. So from 30 to 35 seconds for the same dashboard to be retrieved, it was reduced almost to half. It was like around 18 seconds is what we had the duration. So yeah, this was one of the smallest example, but as I said, all these things add-ons to your performance whenever you have more of animations and the layouts which are coming in as in when you scroll your screen. So that add-ons to your performance of the device. So as I said, this was one of the other screen which overdraw was reduced. When you tell overdraw, either it might be one level reduction or two level reduction. So whichever it is, it's very much useful whenever you have more of images, layouts, everything being displayed in your screen. So all these things add-ons to your performance of the device. So yeah, so these are a couple of references which were looked in for verifying all the overdraw profiling and a couple of other things. So yeah, I know we are out of time, but it would be helpful, like if you have any questions, you can just pass it on to us.
Thank you, Shruti. It's really insightful. You can stop screen share if you wish.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Uh, this is really interesting. Basically, learning about GPU profiling, overdraw. This is the first time, at least I am hearing, and I'm excited to research more on this particular topic. So thank you for this talk. We have a few questions. Let's take it based on uh, the upwards, like what causes the overdraw and what's the impact of overdraw.
Yeah, okay, yeah. As I said, the causes for this overdraw is the way you are designing your screen to be rendered. So if in case you have couple of categories on the single screen, you have couple of categories to be displayed, instead of reserving your spaces for that particular category where you have your regular like white color screen. Upon that, you mention that this screen is reserved for so and so category. For example, whatever the example I showed in one of the screen, it was a saved section. So if you are blocking that for saved section, and upon that if you are entering the characters, so it will be like 3 times overdrawing your pixelate. So instead of doing that on the same base screen, if you are entering your or if you're capturing your pixelates only on that particular, you will be reducing 2 times of overdraw, which reduces most of your time in rendering those UI elements.
Ravi Surya asked, like in continuation to this, like how do you avoid overdraws?
Yeah, as I said, instead of reserving the spaces, if you start capturing your pixels only on your true screen, then it will reduce your overdraw and your time will also be reduced by that.
Okay. Sandeep asked, like, what are the precautions, data exposure, or anything important we should take care while using Charles proxy on office or personal devices?
Yeah, Charles proxy, what it happens is it again depends on the protocol whatever you have used. If you try capturing any of your HTTP based protocols, you will not be able to capture any of the details. Yeah, I think I had to show that you will be having a log icon there, so you will not be able to capture all the applications data which is built upon HTTPS protocol. So ideally, only the ones which you have the permissions, only them you will have to, like if you are testing any of your applications and you have the option, or you have that permission to capture your APIs and then modify, only then you will be able to. So the general production applications, no, you will not be able to capture the API. So that is all the secured ones, and the APIs will not be exposed.
Okay. Continuation to this. Charles proxy is used only for is Charles proxy used only for API testing of mobile applications, or
No,
there
you can perform the web, as I said, the Windows application also you can perform. If you have Linux or Mac OS, any of your the platforms, Charles proxy is still very user friendly to use that. And if you're asking, is that only for API monitoring? Yes. I mean, like, you have other tools as well. For example, you have Postman, which is mainly for API testing and performing the automation, a few other things. But here, this, adding on to your API, that shows the behavior of the changes in the alterations in the API with respect to your UI as well. So that's where, as I said, when you have couple of plan types where you have a different UI alignment for those plan types, in that case, API is very, I mean, this Charles proxy, using this where you will be altering your API, this is very much advisable.
Okay. Krishmita asked how to test video app on different internet speeds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, it's the same way. You will have to set up your throttling. As in, when you play any of your video, the API gets triggered and that will be captured in your Charles proxy. So for that particular node or the event which is triggered for the video, you will have to enable the throttling, slow down the speed and check how does your video behave for that low speed. I just showed one of the example for one of the just navigating to any screen, taking one of the node. But whatever the event or the node which gets triggered for the video, you will have to enable the throttle for that particular node and then start reducing your speed and then look for that.
Sure. There's one question from Puneet. How many users we can add during load testing for mobile app using Charles proxy?
Yeah, as I said, it's not like the extensive use of load testing. It's the basic one with respect to number of users you can try. What we have tried is maximum of 500 users at a time. You can still go ahead and it's again it's a tool which you can play around with. You can go ahead and give any number of users. It again depends on the application. If you feel that, or if you have a requirement where you think your application is used for more.
Shruti, I think we lost you. Okay. Yeah, we will have to wait for a few minutes. Yeah, I think Ravi, Sandeep, your questions are pending. So let's wait for Shruti for a minute or so. She can connect back. Oh, I'm sorry. uh, I was on mute. Yeah, so Shruti should be joining in. I just had a call with her. She should be joining back. We have some pending questions, so we'll take them. While she joins in, I just want to talk about some of our events that we are going to have by the test drive, and some of the exciting events we'll have soon. We're going to have FailConf, which will be on 5th and 6th of June. It is primarily a conference on failures around software testing and quality. This is going to be a really unique conference by the test tribe, right? And I'm hoping all of you are a part of the FailConf. Other than that, yeah, we have upcoming events. We'll have our virtual meetup happening on 24th of April, when we're talking about API basics. Uh, and we'll have a Postman workshop as well during that time. We have a hackathon coming up, which is powered by XLQ and the Test Tribe, which is going to happen on 1st and 2nd of May. So keep your calendars booked. There are going to be a lot of exciting prizes that will be there. We have a special discount coupon with courses on online rapid software testing explode with James, which is happening on May 4th and May 7th. So if you're interested, go ahead and use the code TRIBE to claim your 50% discount. We have a testing lab advanced workshop by Ajay happening on 15th and 16th of May. And we have our automation bootcamp, which is will go on for weeks, which is from May 15th to July 31st. Will be taken by Kunal. So all of these events will be there on TTT events page, so you can have a look at them. So Shruti, you're back.
Yes, Jocelyn.
Okay, so we'll have a few questions which are open. We can take them and then end it for the day.
Yes, please.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. So the next question is from Sandeep. Are there any credible alternatives to Charles Proxy?
If you're talking about the tool, then yeah, we have it. We have something called as Burp Suite. That is, again, much more advanced than Charles Proxy. But the disadvantage of Burp Suite is if you just generally keep browsing that, you will get to know that's the most used tool for hacking purpose. Where even if you have HTTPS protocol used, there's a chance of all your APIs getting exposed, and it is not the safer one to be used when compared to Charles Proxy. Yeah, we have it. Burp Suite is one of the available one as a alternative for Charles Proxy, but not a secured one.
Okay. Next from Ravi. How can a tester testing the apps learn the views that are not stored or cleared when a new view is being constructed? Knowing this will help me to test for GPU factor. Please share your insights.
Sorry, I am not very much clear. Views in the sense, are you talking about your previous screen view? Then, and if it's not cleared, how is that going for the next view? If that is the case, then yeah, there was one of the component in the color code, whatever I mentioned, that was the miscellaneous time. So when you have dependency between two of your UI threads for rendering, and you can see that green color bar, which is more, in that case, it indicates that your dependency from one UI thread to other UI thread is more. So you will have to reduce that by, there are a couple of ways to do that. Instead of the single UI thread, which is computing more number of operations at a time, you can shift it on to other parallel. Instead of doing it on a main UI thread, you can push it on to other parallel UI threads where the computation can be done parallelly. So based on the color code, you can get to know where and what delay is being observed in the screen with respect to GPU.
Okay. If you have any more questions, please put it on the questions tab window. Yeah, we're taking one from Ravi again. Will Charles Proxy help in putting a load on mobile or app server when we use it for testing the load?
Yeah, so it's a server. As I showed you, you are selecting your node to which you will have to trigger. For example, I just showed you one of the node for which I was. It was a post method again. So for that particular node, I was selecting the number of iterations. So it is the load on the server and not the mobile app. So mobile app, ideally, you cannot tell that 10 people are using the same mobile app at a time. Not with respect to your device, but it's again with respect to your server.
Okay. I think we are good with questions. One last thing, like Shruti, so we learned about testing the APIs, GPU profiling, GPU overdraw. So normally when you test mobile applications, what is the approach that you take? When do you start which activity, right? Or what is the context when you prefer to do one activity or the other?
Okay, yeah. Generally, as I said, selection of device is the first and foremost important thing. Like all the applications would not be supported by all the manufacturers and OS versions, everything. So selection of your device is first and foremost thing. So once you are done with the selection of the device, the regular flow goes like, you will have to test for your functionality of your applications. Then once everything is done, functionality in the sense that is again with respect to different OS, and because compatibility is very much important in mobile devices. So as I said, you have various OS and size available, the screen size. So once we are done with functional, the main again aspect comes as usability and UI. So once we have everything in line, then we go for the performance of the device with respect to UI. So when I talk about functionality testing, this again includes our Charles proxy. So that is where initially our Charles proxy come into picture for verifying the functionality with respect to API and the UI. So generally, once our application is stable with respect to performance, we'll be considering our GPU after once our application is stable. So performance comes into picture once after we have the functionality, working functionality, which is a strong one. Then we'll go for our performance with respect to all these aspects.
Cool. Yeah, there's one from Puneet. Try to take that. Any suggestions for mobile simulators, free ones, which you could recommend?
Are you talking about the simulators to be used or the tools which can be used on simulators? If that's the case, yes, the Charles proxy tool can be used with the simulators as well, and the simulators would also have the option for verifying your GPU profiling and overdraw.
He's asking for simulators, not tools on simulators. So
Generally, Android Studio is the one which is the opted, but it's little troublesome with respect to memory, because your Android Studio or the Genie Motion, whichever is a freeware, that comes to a constraint with respect to memory. If you have a larger capacity of your memory, then yeah, you can easily go for Android Studio. You have couple of advanced features available in that when compared to your Genie Motion.
okay, thank you. Okay, I think we are good. Shruti, I think I'm getting a fallback of my voice.
No, I think I'm good. Like, I don't hear anything as such.
Okay. Okay. So thanks for being patient. I know there was a slight delay, but yeah, the session was equally exciting. And thank you for being there on this weekend, sharing the time with us, giving your time for this particular wonderful session. Thank you, Shruti, as well. Definitely, this presentation was really insightful.
Thank you all audience for your patience.